I am Gary Parrish. Welcome back. CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball Podcast. Sometimes we discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, leaky black. Eye on College Basketball Podcast. It is presented by Jersey Mike's, proud sponsor of the Naismith Award. Jersey Mike's would like to offer their congratulations to all of the athletes on the watch list. Matt Norlander is here with me. He's making out with a bracket. If you're watching on YouTube, honor Brandon Davies. Smash that like button. Smash the like button. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball Podcast, please also do that wherever you subscribe to podcasts like Apple and Spotify. Let's get into it. The bracket for the 2026 NCAA Tournament is officially set. There are 68 teams in it. Miami, Ohio is one of them. Auburn, Oklahoma are not. But the SEC still led all conferences with 10 bids. Norlander, good to see you on this Selection Sunday. We got here before midnight. Are you ready to talk about this bracket? If so, start now.
I am ready. I didn't know the SEC had the most teams in the tournament until you just told me. We're going to dive
some college basketball analyst you are.
I got plenty for you. Okay, I got loaded up with notes. It didn't come up on HQ. I didn't realize the SEC had 10. Good for the SEC. We have a very, very, very big live audience, and we love this show every single year. Just as a reminder, this is it's mandatory, but also by design. This is seat of our pants stuff. No idea which way the show is going to go. I am bowing down to the gods that this might be a record since we've had HQ, and I've had studio duty when you've had studio duty. I don't think we've ever started this early. I'm all ready to dive into the bracket. How about some quick overviews, and let's just take it as it comes to us. And by the way, if anyone's listening or watching right now, I interviewed the committee chair, Keith Gill, on HQ. That is in the podcast feed. It was about a 9-minute interview. Tried to squeeze in as much as possible, quite understandably so. He goes on Big CBS, then to us. Was he on CBS Sports Network, GP? Gill? Did you get the committee chair as well? He's got I personally talked to Martin Newton. Okay, Martin Newton. So we got that as well. And anyway, the point is we got it in. If I could have made it 15 minutes, I would, but we are on a very tight schedule, and I try and get as much as possible. Frankly, committee chair-wise, I thought Gil was about as good as any committee chair that has been, not just today, but in the past 2 months, quite literally in the past decade or so. We could start with a number of things. To me, it's not a lot of drama with the ones at all, not debatable. So we're going to have plenty of podcasts and talking about the matchups, and we'll get to that as well. There's no room to talk about anything interesting with the ones. Michigan lost. Arizona jumped it. So it's 1 Duke, 2 Arizona, 3 Michigan, and 4 Florida. We knew that would be the case there. There's some teams on seed lines that I'm a little curious by. I remember hopping on the show last year, if my brain's working correctly, and we didn't really have too many issues overall with the bracket. We had some confounding reactions to Carolina getting in. But overall, not a ton of gripes. I think there's a couple teams that I got issue with, but we might as well start with Miami, because I do think and I was wondering if we were going to go here regardless, but let's dive into this. Miami is 37th in wins above bubble. It's in the field. There was some initial confusion over where Miami was actually in the field, because the way that our buddy Seth Davis, who listens to the show, appreciate you, he said Miami was the last team in the field. That is not technically the case. So I'm going to be very quick on this. If anyone listened to the committee interview, you know what the case is. What happened was Miami was voted into the field. So the committee, as it was getting down to it, it was saying, okay, what teams are still going to be under consideration? What teams are we putting into the field? When that happened, Miami was put in the field, and there were still 3 more at-large spots that had not been accounted for. So Miami University was not the last team in the field. It got in with plenty of room to spare. It would have survived getting into the field if there were 3 more bid thieves. That's cool. I like to see that. I thought Miami would be an 11 that wasn't going to Dayton. No, it is an 11 that is going to Dayton. What then happened was once they determined that it was going to be NC State and Texas and SMU, those were going to be the final teams, then they seed scrub again. And those teams come up on the board. And first they would have said, and I don't have the 160. That's the one thing I don't have in front of me. They went to the 1 to 68 list, and they said, okay, Miami is here. And do you think it's better than this team? And I'm actually going to give you the specific teams, GP, and then I'll throw it over to you because I know I tweeted out the 1 to 68 earlier today. So Miami on the overall seed list is 44. It wound up 44. Then it's SMU, Texas, NC State. Texas A&M was the lowest seeded team not going to Dayton. So there were conversations about Miami versus Texas A&M, Miami potentially versus Missouri. And every single time that they talked about the Red Hawks, they said, which team do you think is better? And so when they did that, Miami dropped below NC State. And then it dropped below Texas, and then it dropped below SMU. It could not drop any lower. It was not in danger of falling out of the tournament. It was always going to be in. So as it stands, Miami is the lowest at-large team. Behind Miami is VCU at 45, South Florida at 46, McNeese at 47, and then Akron in its own conference, two-bid MAC for the first time since 99 with Wally, of course. Who was the at-large team that year? Miami. So Miami's in. I'm not going to get on here and complain too much that they're going to Dayton. I didn't think they should. I think you should reward an undefeated regular season. But quite clearly, even though they got in with some room to spare, which I think is important context, they looked at the predictive numbers. They saw 0 quad 1 wins. They saw 0 wins over high major teams. They saw only 2 wins over the field, Akron and Wright State. And because of that, the committee knew that they were going to be safe. And they said, okay, we're going to ship them to Dayton. And oh, by the way, I don't know how much that you talked about this. We talked about a little on the HQ set tonight. They are going to Dayton, so they are getting an extra game, but they do get the benefit of being local, less than an hour away, and that fan base is going to flood that arena. SMU is going to be playing a road game on Wednesday night on True TV. Your thoughts on Miami?
You said you're not going to complain too much about them getting sent to Dayton. You know what? I don't think I'll complain at all. Like, I understand it. I like it when you ask somebody in charge of something a question and they actually answer it and it's sensible. And that's what happened with both Martin and Keith. I thought they both handled the questions well, answered them directly, and made sense. And I use that as a compliment because not every committee chair or co-chair has been able to answer the questions.
I'm never going to say bad ones, but there have been ones that have been extremely frustrating with this, and this is not the case with Keith. He did a great job.
I agree. And so when you ask the question, just explain it to me like I'm 5 years old and see if it makes sense. And I thought they did a very good job of doing that. They did it essentially the same way you did. First thing we're doing is putting teams in the field. They're in the field. We got them in the field. But now we're going to scrub again for seeding purposes. And when you start doing that, what you find out pretty quickly is that Miami University is 39 spots lower at KenPom. And that's just one metric, but it's the easiest one to look up. It's 39 spots lower at KenPom than any other at-large team. I think the next lowest at-large team was UCF. And Miami's 39 spots below them. So that just makes sense to me. We all believed, well, most of us believed, an undefeated regular season team from the MAC or basically anywhere else belongs in an NCAA tournament. If we can't find a spot in a 68-team tournament for a team that just went undefeated in the regular season, like something's wrong.
Burn it all down. Seriously, burn it all down. And I'm glad this precedent was set. Because if they had missed, honestly, I would have been furious hopping on the show. We would have had to completely destroy the system and start anew. Now we know, no matter how bad your non-con SOS is, you run the table, you're getting into the tournament, and a very important precedent was set here tonight with Miami's inclusion.
And you know what? I'm fine with it because I heard somebody suggest, well, this will encourage people to not schedule. If you really think you can schedule in a way that allows you to go undefeated, good luck. Go try it. All right.
Exactly.
I don't care who you are. You're probably not going to do it. Even if you're trying to schedule to go undefeated, you're probably not going to do it. So if that's the new precedent, and I know it's not written anywhere, but like you go undefeated in the regular season, we will put you in the bracket. I'm fine with that. If you can't find a spot, it's not a 12-team tournament. It's 68. We got room. All right. And if you got to knock out one of these mediocre power conference teams with 1 billion losses to find a place for them, I'm also fine with that. Those teams had 1 million opportunities to prove they were worthy, and they failed too often. So we all believe they should be in the bracket. But then when you start, okay, now if you're really going to make it that simple, we put these teams on a court. Who do you think is going to win? I mean, Miami University would be a significant underdog against any at-large team. And as long as you can acknowledge that's true, then Dayton is probably where they belong. And I know that maybe some Dayton fans, some Miami, Ohio fans, had their sights set on advancing straight into the main bracket. And I get that. I'm not telling you not to be disappointed. I'm just saying, if I'm being completely honest, I kind of get it. And it didn't outrage me.
Yeah, I understand. And on a certain level, I do as well, because teams that got in, and I got to look this up. I've just been so busy. I haven't had time to look at everything. Teams got in, I believe, Bringing up the WAB right now. Okay, so WAB teams that got into the field. Did anyone that was did we have a? I asked Keith Gill this. He said there's not a cutoff, but I actually wonder if the numbers bear that out. So Auburn, no, it did not. Okay, Auburn was 44 in WAB. SMU was 45. Texas was 46, and there's the cut. So just for official bookkeeping purposes, the best WAB teams from an at-large perspective did not get into the field with a line drawn of delineation with the worst. Auburn didn't get in, and it looks like that's the only one. By the way, Auburn didn't get in because it went 17 and 16. As expected, Oklahoma the closest, then Auburn, then San Diego State. Anyway, I was curious on that. I thought about it on the desk. We never talked about it on HQ, and I wanted to look here, and that's the case what we have. But when you juxtapose that with the predictives as we go live here, Ken Pom 93 for Miami, Torvik 86, BPI 93. The net tries to kind of marry both concepts without really doing it. It is predictive. It's 64 in the net. We have a precedent-setting inclusion, and quite clearly the committee said they deserve to be in the field, but now that they're in, we know what their team quality is according to what we've seen. They've also been winning some close games late, and we'll see on that. Last thing, just in terms of the cut line, take it away, GP. Auburn not getting in, not shocking. Important decision there. Not even that it was the first team out, but there was even some buffer there. You can't have a 16-loss team in the tournament. You can't have a team that's one game above 500 in the tournament. The name of the game is to win games, and you get plenty of cracks of the bat, stepping up to the plate, whatever. I'll use the analogy there, or the metaphor, I should say. But Auburn didn't deserve to get in, and I know they've made a push in recent days. I didn't find it remotely compelling. Too many losses, not enough wins, and I thought that was also important as well. I'll note our bracketology model went 68 for 68, which is terrific. Generally speaking, you get 66 out of 68. You should be doing your job. In my opinion, this year though, the cut between SMU, I thought SMU would be the last one, but if you want to get into any of that chunk of teams, SMU, Texas, I actually thought Missouri would be in the first four, so there were some prizes there. But the line between in the field and then I thought it was Oklahoma and then Auburn and then San Diego State when you really got in. They had Indiana fourth. Get out of here with that nonsense. But regardless, I thought this was a particular season where there was not a lot of room for debate around the bubble cut line. Any thoughts on the teams that didn't get in or any other surprises? Like NC State's going to Dayton. That is semi-inspiring from the committee, only in that I didn't love the resume, but I actually thought because of NC State's, I want to say NC State was like 3 or 4 games above 500 in road and neutral. And I thought that would carry the day, but I fully acknowledge and understand that when they're talking all these teams, not every single data point's always going to get put out there. I wouldn't have State in going to Dayton. I'm surprised Missouri's not. I'm kind of surprised UCF isn't and sitting there with a 10. Your thoughts about the teams that aren't going to win the title? Might not be a threat to get the Sweet 16, but let's get the lower end stuff out of the way.
I mean, I could move somebody who's an 11 seed up to a 10, or somebody that's a 10 to Dayton. But broadly speaking, I don't think there's a team that was left out of this tournament that has any real reason to complain or yell. And I don't think there's a team that's been placed into this tournament that was done so in ways that absolutely make no sense to most people. Last season, we had the North Carolina thing, and that was the dominant Selection Sunday outrage moment, in part because Bubba's on, was the committee. Nobody was genuinely suggesting anything out of line, but it just, the optics weren't great. And then North Carolina got in, and that was the one everybody was yelling about. There's just not one for me to yell about. I didn't do a projected bracket. Sometimes I'll just put it on a little document, tweet it out and say, here it is. I didn't even do that today because I was working on other things. But I think based on the way I've been talking about this, these are the 68 teams that I think probably belonged in, and anybody on the outside looking in, like you had opportunities probably, and you didn't do enough. To me, the and again, we're just, I think, nitpicking here, but
we're here to pick nits. That's part of what this show is about. Let's pick nits. What do you got?
Okay, so the thing that stood out to me was there's two. St. John's being a 5 seed seemed a little low, just a little, but low, given that they're 19-1 in their past 20, outright Big East champs, Big East tournament champs, 2 wins over Connecticut, 2 wins over Villanova in this stretch. I would have had St. John's better seeded than this. And then, and I think you tweeted about this one as well, Mackenzie brought this up on CBS Sports Network. She, of course, running our CBS Sports bracketology, Vanderbilt getting a 5 seed. I had Vanderbilt at 13 in the final top 25 and 1 that will publish Monday morning. That would equate to the best 4 seed. Instead, they're a 5. They're 12th at KenPom, which again equates to a 3 seed. That just seemed like just slightly off. I don't think there's maybe a whole bunch of teams that I think they probably missed by 2 seed lines, but Vandy might be one where you could have argued they deserve a 3, and instead they got a 5.
So I'll take those in the order that you talked about them. The only reason that St. John's didn't get a 4, this is my reasoning, and I just don't see how it could be any other reason than this, is St. John's did not beat a single NCAA tournament team in non-conference play. And the Big East being down also didn't help matters. And so SJU ends up on the 5 line. I don't like it. Now, you can say it's a power conference and only had 3 bids. I get that. You double sweep a Power 5 league with a record that's as good as St. John's. I mean, Rick Pitino's team enters into this NCAA tournament at 28-6. Should have been a 5. Should have been a 4, not a 5. Not the end of the world, but didn't like it. Vanderbilt's even less excusable. Our bracketology model, and I don't know if I fully agreed with it, but if I didn't, I was one difference in model overall. If Vanderbilt had beat Arkansas, I actually think you could have made the case that it should have been the final 2, and it is a 5. Now, I thought I had, going into the selection show and knowing the result, I had Vandy as the best 4 on the board. So I had, in order, I had MSU, then Gonzaga, then Illinois, then Virginia as my 3s. And then I had Vandy, then Nebraska, then Arkansas, then St. John's as my 4s. Vandy got screwed more than any team in this field because they shouldn't be a 5. Not only are they a 5, and I don't have the seed list up in front of me. I'll see how that breaks down. They've got to play McNeese, my man. They've got to play a McNeese team that has guys that were in the tournament last season. A McNeese team that is top 70 at KenPom. 28-5 team. A McNeese team that has high-level Power 5 transfers on the roster. And you get into the tournament, you get who you get. You got to win the games. No complaining. Lace them up. Let's go. I get all that. But, man, Vandy got effed. It just did. Like, it's not the biggest, most egregious thing. Last year, Michigan getting a 5 when they had no business being on the 5 line may have been even worse. I was surprised by this. This is a Vandy team that has defeated UCF, VCU, St. Mary's, SMU, Alabama, Kentucky, Texas A&M, Georgia, Tennessee twice, and Florida. Those are all NCAA tournament teams. That's a team with the 26-8 record, and it's a 5. That's a misseed. I don't know how it happened, but it is fairly egregious. Again, not a plight against humanity, but if you got to take one, if you want to move it from the 5 line to the 4 line, you got to switch one out. Our 4s are Arkansas, should be a 4. Alabama, I'd have Alabama as a 5. Kansas as a 4. I'd have Kansas as a 5 personally. And we've got Nebraska as a 4. Nebraska fits on the 4 line. So Kansas as a 4, you're going to have to explain to me. I don't understand that at all. But then again, if Bill Self wins, he could well have one of the very best coaches ever waiting for him in the second round in Rick Pitino.
Just like you, I would have had Vanderbilt. I've mentioned I've got them 13th in the final top 25 and 1. I do try to evaluate these teams at this point in the season similarly to the way the committee would. So that would have been best number 4 seed, just like you. I would have had them as the best number 4, not as a number 5. I think after complimenting the committee for broadly doing an impressive job, I think they messed up on Vanderbilt or missed something there. But, we can move on. Let's take a break. And then when we come back, if you don't mind, I want to focus on the East region because that looks like the most interesting one. Big names, big brands. We'll talk through it next. First, Josh, get us a word from our partners. This is Gary Parrish. I have a confession. The confession is that sometimes, I hit an afternoon wall. Say, in between doing the Eye on College basketball podcast and, walking to the broadcast center for a night in studio, I realized I probably didn't get enough rest. I need some caffeine. I want something sweet, but not like some big sugary drink. And that's why I'm obsessed with the new Fruity Rainbow shots from 5 Hour Energy. They seriously taste like a handful of classic rainbow candy, bright, juicy, and fun, but with a caffeine kick built in. It's like caffeine finally got that flavor glow up it always deserved. And with 17 flavors total in the 5 Hour Energy lineup, there is something for every mood. But this Fruity Rainbow launch is all about that bold, sweet, fruity chaos. What do I love most? It's the big flavor in that tiny portable 2-ounce bottle. I can throw it in my bag, keep one in my car, stash it at my desk, golf bag. It's no bulky can, no sticky wrappers, no sugar crash. It's a zero sugar treat that's totally sweet tooth approved, so it feels indulgent, but it's actually practical. If you're going to grab caffeine anyway, it might as well taste like candy. Get candy flavored chaos with Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Duke is the number 1 overall seed in this NCAA tournament. Man, they are in a loaded East region. Trivia time. There are 6 programs in the East region that have won multiple national championships. Can you name them in less than 10 seconds?
Say it again.
There are 6 programs in the East region that have won multiple national championships.
Yes. I can name them. Yeah. Off the top of my head, Duke, UConn, UCLA, Michigan State. I'm trying not to look at the bracket line. There's 6?
6.
Multiple Ohio State, and trying to pull this from my brain. Louisville? Am I good?
You better try somebody else's brain. Your brain ain't working so well. Ohio State won NCAA tournament victory. Kansas has multiple. Bill Self's got 2 himself.
Absolute idiot.
I mean, I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to talk to a coworker like that.
First of all, I took that board.
I took that harassment course online.
I'm calling myself an idiot. I tried to do it from memory.
I think based on my harassment training, I'm not allowed to call a coworker an idiot. But if you want to call yourself one for forgetting that Kansas has won multiple national championships, I won't step in. That's going to be between you.
I think I got a sad trombone for me. Hold on. There we go.
Yeah, that's going to be that's going to be between you and you, whether you want to call yourself an idiot. That's between you and you. The programs with multiple national titles in the East region: Duke, UConn, Michigan State, Kansas, UCLA, and Louisville. And how about this? Coaches.
Yeah. Trivia time.
Well, there's already 3 Naismith Memorial Hall of Famers. We don't have to do that again. Tom Izzo, Bill Self, Rick Pitino. Dan Hurley will be a Naismith Memorial Hall of Famer. At this point, hard to imagine John Shire not being a Naismith Memorial Hall of Famer. I know it's early, but he's on track. I mean, you got 5 guys at least. And you got in this region, you got 5 guys who project as future Hall of Famers, plus the greatest coach in UCLA history. What you gonna do about what you gonna do?
Trivia time.
Okay.
How many total national titles are represented in the East region by the head coaches?
Okay. 2, 3, 5, 7. 7 is my answer.
See what this button does. Does that button do anything? No, hold on. Let's see if I can get this for you. I think I got it. That's correct. That's a correct air horn. It's 7. Hurley and Pitino have 2, Self has 2, and Izzo has 1. There we go. And how about this? This is a hell of a nugget from our research team. The East region has schools with a combined 32 national titles. That's the second most ever for a single region at the start of an NCAA tournament. In 2022, the East region that year had 35 combined national titles among the schools represented. So this is a beast of a region, both historically and in the context of this year. Can I go a big picture on you?
Yeah,
what do you make of the fact that the number 1 overall seed has what I think? Now, it might not break this way. It often doesn't. But going in, objectively, this is the toughest region, and you have a shorthanded Duke team that was given the toughest road. If I remember correctly, and boy, I might not be doing this, I want to say either last year or the year before, or maybe both years, I feel like we've hopped on the show and done the same exact thing where it's like, why did the number 1 overall seed actually wind up getting the toughest road theoretically to the Final Four? To me, it looks like it's the case right now.
I also remember that happening in a different year. Don't remember the year or the team, but I do remember having the conversation. Probably a conversation pretty similar to the one we're going to have right now. I should point out, for whatever it's worth, the CBS Sports projections that were referenced tonight on our bracket breakdown show on CBS Sports Network actually suggested that Florida has the toughest possible path to a Final Four among the number 1 seeds. But that's computer stuff. You can take it for what it's worth. Just my eyes, I would not want to be Duke under these circumstances, other than I get Cameron Boozer, so that's a good place to start. I'm with you. Like, in the second round, you get an Ohio State team. Theoretically, you might get if you just place to bracket seeding. Ohio State would advance out of that 8-9 game. They've got a guard who can, go for 30, and they've been playing better. You get to the Sweet 16. I mean, you could be running into a St. John's team that just won the Big East outright title, Big East tournament, beat UConn twice, 19-1 in their past 20. You get past that, I mean, there's UConn. Won 2 of the past 3 national championships, possibly sitting there waiting for you. So it's Duke might have to beat St. John's and UConn to get to the Final Four. And to me, that's the toughest 2-game stretch you would have to have from the Sweet 16 on that any team could have. At least that's the one I would least want to have. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it could break any number of ways for Duke here. You might have to face, I guess second round shouldn't theoretically be tough, but Ohio State with its all-time leading scorer, or a TCU team that's nearly took out Michigan earlier this year and has some really good wins. And then Sweet 16, you could have to face Darren Peterson, potentially number 1 pick in the draft and a Hall of Fame level coach with 2 national titles, or you might have to face a coach that some people think is an even greater coach. And by the way, if it's St. John's versus Duke, those are the 2 best big men in college basketball in the Sweet 16 battle with Zuby and Boozer. Zuby was outstanding, obviously, on Saturday night in the Big East title game. Then in the bottom half, you could have to face Izzo and maybe the nation's best point guard in Jeremy Fears Jr. You could have to face Dan Hurley and UConn. Could have to face the greatest coach in UCLA history. There's a lot here. This is a very entertaining and intriguing region. Duke will obviously start in Greenville. This region has Greenville, San Diego, Buffalo, and Philadelphia as the pods that will feed into the East Regional in DC. But I think this region is equal parts loaded, but something is telling me we are going to have some upset noise in this in this quadrant of the bracket there. So I'm intrigued by it all. I'm interested to see with Patrick Ngongba. Is he playing the first game? They're going to let him sit for 2 more days. They want to give him the run so he can be ready for a second round game. And then Caleb Foster, obviously, no indication he will play at all prior to the Final Four. And even if they get to the Final Four, he'll be there. Other injuries in this region to know about. You've got Louisville, Michael Brown Jr. as a 6th seed. His availability and effectiveness obviously remains to be seen. Silas Demery Jr. left the Big East final. Now, indications are he's going to be okay, but I guess we'll see on that. Donovan Dent, Tyler Bilodeau, both hurt Saturday. Big Ten semis. Mick Cronin says they're both going to play. Let's hope they're close to 100%. But just know there's a lot of notable big-time teams with just general curiosities of the effectiveness or how filled their bar is for health, so to speak, by the time we tip off later this week.
So, to me, that's the one where there's just you got whoever comes out of there is going to have beaten some big brands and some Hall of Fame level coaches to get through there. But like I mentioned, the CBS Sports data suggests Florida would be the 1 seed with the toughest path of all of the 1 seeds. So let's transition to the South region real quick. Florida's the 1, Houston's the 2. That surprises nobody. It is allowed per bracketing principles. I don't like it. This is one where
why don't you like?
I don't like the idea that if this region plays to seed, the 1 seed will play a road game against the 2 seed.
But good, a genuine disagreement on the show. They can't account for this. Like you
can account for it. I just accounted for it. I just accounted for it. What are you talking about?
Okay, let me talk you through this here. ones and twos in particular.
You're not going to talk me through it. You're going to say a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to tell you I don't. And then I'm going to tell you I don't agree with you. But go ahead.
That's fine. Let's go. Let's get feisty on a Saturday night. Or no, Sunday night. See, brain ceasing to work.
You're talking to. You're going to talk me through something.
I'm going to talk you through it here right now. Okay. The ones and twos and threes and fours are given geographic preference as they marry with the concept of where they will go in the bracket. Okay. So Florida is the best one. It has to be put in the one region where it makes most geographic sense. That's the South. We just so happen to be in a year where Houston as a city is hosting a regional final in the same year where Houston as a program is good enough to go to that same exact region. Houston should not be penalized for being the best 2 seed and getting shipped elsewhere. If anything, S-curve wise, let me make sure this is accurate before I say it, by the way. Let me see what the NCAA put out. Was Houston the 5 overall? Were they ahead of UConn? They were. So even according to S-curve, which they don't use anymore, Houston was next in line. I know you say you don't like it. I don't have any issue with it whatsoever. This could have easily been a year in which the South region was playing in Atlanta, but it just happened to be Houston. Houston should not be penalized for being the team that was closest to the one line that gets shipped elsewhere. And they're not going to do that because they're not going to send UConn to Houston when it can go to DC, because that makes seating practical sense and also from a travel perspective as well. So you don't have to like it, but it is how it is, and it's not changing, and I got no issue with it whatsoever.
Okay, I don't like it. I understood everything you said. I knew it all before you said it. I still think it's ridiculous. Here's why.
You're not ridiculous. This is not ridiculous. You're asking 2 teams that are not separated by even one more seed line to play each other at a venue that's not Houston's home venue. Oh, by the way, Florida might travel just as well in that building as Houston, which honestly does not have nearly the fan base nationally as Florida does. I think you're overreacting.
You're not trying to argue that this is not going to be a de facto home court advantage for the 2 seed if it gets there.
I don't know. I got to see what the crowd situation is.
Okay.
We also, by the way, we have to even get there. And a lot of times when this stuff comes up, we don't even get to the point where they have this matchup. That being said, I got Florida versus Houston in the Elite 8.
Yeah, me too. And I know because Martin Newton pointed this out. And it's one of those things where you ask the question, you already know the answer, but you still want to ask the question because it's something people are talking about. And so he said, we don't plan for that because the 1 and 2s only meet in the Elite 8 history. Like, they have data on this, and it only happens about 30% of the time. So he's like, we're not going to, we're not going to manipulate this hypothetical matchup to try to avoid something that doesn't happen 70% of the time. I get all of that, but it does happen 30% of the time. And it should happen more than any other possible matchup. So when you say things like it only happens 30% of the time, okay, but is it the most likely thing to happen? Yes. By at least by the number.
30% of the time, it happens every time.
If that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it is the most likely outcome. It's what you think's going to happen, and it's what I think's going to happen, according to our brackets. Florida and Houston.
Yeah.
To me, it makes no sense to talk about you can't penalize Houston just because. Shouldn't you aim a little higher with you shouldn't penalize teams? You shouldn't penalize a 1 seed by making them play a de facto road game if they get to the Elite 8 against the 2 seed. If I were in charge, that would be a bracketing principle. We are not going to make 1 seeds play possible road games if in the Elite 8. Now, we're not going to count for everything. Like, we're not going to say, the 7 seed could be really close to home. We're not worried about the 7 seed. But the way it should play out is 1 versus 2. And if it gets, I'm just telling you, if we get to that Elite 8 game and it is 1 versus 2, you're going to have a whole bunch of people saying, is this right? Because I actually saw this up close one time. My last year on the Memphis beat was 2006. Memphis was the 1 seed, got shipped out west because I guess it was the 4th number 1.
You used to cover Memphis?
Get shipped out to the west, and UCLA's the 2 seed. And in the Elite 8, because the bracket played the seed, it's 1 seed Memphis, 2 seed UCLA in Oakland, and it's 15,000 UCLA fans. Memphis was in a road game as the 1 seed. That didn't feel right. It didn't seem right, and we have set ourselves up for that again. I know it's allowed. I just think it's wrong. I think it's wrong that you could possibly be putting a 1 seed in the position that Florida could possibly find itself in, playing Houston in Houston as a higher seeded team in the Elite 8, period.
Houston had to do this, by the way, in the first weekend 4 years ago when they had to play, I want to say Auburn and Birmingham in the second round. And all evens out eventually. But yeah, this exact thing came up at this year's media mock selection exercise when we started talking about where they were sending it. It was on us to start sending teams after we had the field of 68 and started putting them everywhere. And this exact thing came up. And what Gavitt basically told the room of assembled media and all the other folks that were there was, there are certain things that we're going to abide by, but honestly, a lot of the stuff doesn't come to the fore anyway, as Martin explained to you. And when you really start tugging on that thread, you actually start unintentionally manipulating the bracket and the seed lines in a way that isn't appropriate. And you can put yourself needlessly into spots that you didn't need to do to begin with. And so they have had discussions about if they should implement this kind of stuff before, as I understand it, multiple times over the decades. And ultimately, they think it's a 1 versus a 2. It's not on their home venue. And so that's why they have it. Doesn't bother me, but I understand where you're coming from. I do.
Why? Just watch. I acknowledge there's a better than good chance that we don't even get to that game, but watch this. I promise you, if we get to that game, you'll see everybody who talks about this stuff on TV saying, is this right? Should Florida really be playing in Houston as the one team? That everything I'm saying now, people will be saying in advance of that game if we get that game. And it's a reasonable debate. Like, I understand what you're saying. Like, there's nothing you said that I don't know. There's nothing I said that you don't know. I just fundamentally believe this is wrong. Like, this is one that you could work to try to avoid. And you don't, I don't mean manipulating the whole bracket. I mean, this is simple as this. Hey guys, one thing we will avoid in putting together a bracket is setting up a situation where a 1 seed would have to play a de facto road game against a 2 seed in the Elite 8. Any 1 versus 2 combination that leads to that, we avoid that and stop there. I'm not saying we don't want a 2 seed playing a 3 seed on the road in the Sweet 16. I'm strictly talking about 1 versus 2 in an Elite 8. The 1 should not be at a massive crowd disadvantage. And in theory, Florida could be, but I think we spent enough time on this.
We did. This happened to Houston literally a year ago. Houston was the 1. Purdue was the 4. They had the regional semis in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil. Houston won the game, but Purdue had the local.
But that's 1-4. That's different. I'm talking strictly 1-2.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking Sweet 16. That was Sweet 16.
Yeah, Sweet 16.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about, like, I don't love that either. But I understand you start stretching this out too far, you get into some problems. So I'd leave the 1-4 matchups alone. But 1 versus 2,
you would have done. So what you'd say? Throw Iowa State into the South, but then you're punishing. Like, why doesn't Iowa State as the 2 get to play in Chicago? Or who are you putting? Why does UConn as the 2?
I can look at anybody else below the 1s and say, I don't want to punish you, but I would rather punish you than punish the 1. The 1, at least, if you didn't want to be punished, you should have been a 1.
Well,
I just think punishing the 1 instead of the 2s is crazy. Like, you keep saying things like, how could you punish the 2s? But you're punishing the 1.
Well, so the best 1 can't play the best 2, which means Houston could not have gone to DC because Duke is the best 1. So that means the only 2s that you could have had there instead are Iowa State, which you can't take out of Chicago.
You are saying, this is crazy to me. You are saying all these things you can't do.
You want to say Purdue to the west or Houston to the west and Purdue to the south. So Florida has to play Purdue. Go ahead, knock yourself out. Doesn't bother me.
What I'm saying is, you're basing all these, well, you can't do this and can't do. I'm saying the determining it should start up here with, we're not going to have a 1 playing a road game against a 2. Period. We can change all that. So this whole, well, you can't send them here and you can't send. I'm saying you can do anything to try to avoid getting that. That's what I would do if I were in charge. But I think we've spent too much time on this.
Yeah, hey, that's okay. I like when we have some organic disagreement. The chat thinks we're getting divorced. Everything's okay. Mom and Dad, we're fine. Don't worry about it. Where do you want to go next?
Let's go to the West region. Hey, Arizona Gonzaga in the Elite 8. Is that what you're predicting?
Absolutely not. Although that would be something, but no, I don't have Gonzaga getting there. Are we spoiling some of our picks? Like, what are we doing here?
I don't know. I just wanted to ask you something about the West region and stop arguing.
Okay. To everyone that wanted us more on South, folks, we got a 2 marathon prediction podcast coming on Monday and Tuesday. We got you covered. We're going to cover every single game. Don't you worry about it. We can go on to the West region. These games will be played in San Diego, Portland, and St. Louis as they feed into the San Jose Regional. I will be there for the Sweet 16 Elite 8 in a couple of weeks. Josh is bringing up the bracket on the screen right now if you're watching on YouTube. Arizona is the one. We said earlier on HQ, we thought Arizona had the easiest road to the Final Four of any of the 1 seeds. Do you agree with that statement, Gary Parrish?
No.
Okay.
If I could have any 1 seeds region, I would think I would take Michigan's. I think I would take Michigan's.
Okay.
I don't know. It's debatable. It's debatable because let's just talk through it. As the 2, if you're Arizona as the 2, you get Purdue, and that's a team that obviously playing well right now and was preseason number 1, but I think was the 7th seed in the Big Ten tournament or something like that. So you get possibly a shorthanded Gonzaga in there, possibly a shorthanded BYU in there. Yeah. So I'll tell you this, I like the right side of the bracket with Arizona and Michigan. I like those 1 seeds pass better than I like the left side of the bracket.
Okay. By the way, I want to touch on a couple things here. What are your thoughts on 10 seed Mizzou getting to play St. Louis for the first weekend? So Miami's the 7, Miami, Florida, of course. Mizzou's the 10. Purdue playing Missouri and St. Louis potentially in the second round. Thoughts?
Don't like it.
Because I don't like that. I have way more issues with that than the 1, 2, and the Elite 8. Because 1, this is way more likely to happen. I do not like the idea of 2 teams separated by 6+ seed lines getting this kind of situation. Now, Purdue should win, but like that we're simpatico on. That shouldn't happen. I don't know why it happened. That seems avoidable to me. I don't want to take apart the Lego assembly that is this bracket, but you're telling me they couldn't have put Mizzou anywhere else? Like, just thinking out loud here, why couldn't have Mizzou gone? Let me see if this makes sense. Why couldn't have Mizzou as the 10 gone over to the East and played UCLA, and then you throw UCF from the Big 12 against Miami and then play Purdue? Like, this is, I don't get it. Just change their cities. This one actually annoys me.
Oh,
as we go
now you're okay with changing cities. Interesting.
First game, that's a little different. That's right. I don't know. I got Miami winning the game regardless, but that one's a little funky. Which one bothers you more? And then we can move past this.
Oh, like the Houston, Florida thing bothers me more than anything in this world right now. I am more bothered by that than anything in this world right now. That's obviously not true. There's a lot of shit in this world right now. I'm actually bothered by a lot of stuff right now. But on the list somewhere is the Houston, Florida thing. I promise you. But I hate this too. Remind me, is this the same thing that happened to Duke, South Carolina, when the Gamecocks went to the Final Four? Duke had to go play them in South Carolina.
2017. That's correct. Yeah. Same exact thing happened.
Yeah, I don't like it.
South Carolina was 7, I want to say. Yeah, that exact same thing happened. You hate to see it. All right, other things in the West, real quick. I think Nova Utah State is probably going to be the most consensus 1 team pick to win, being Utah State, and that usually means we're going to be wrong. Wisconsin as a 5 is the right seed, and they get a 30-win High Point team. Oh my goodness, that High Point team, I was told, had an NIL north of $4 million, by the way, from a single bid league this season. They've got some dudes, back-to-back tournaments for them. Arkansas is the 4. I love it. Darius Acuff Jr. is
woo.
I mean, I can't get enough of this guy. I do think he's got the capability, and he's got enough talent around him too. And DJ Wagner looked really good in the SEC title game on Sunday. Man, oh man, it is impossible for me not to pick Arkansas to make a Sweet 16 2 years in a row under Cal. And I would love to be covering an Arizona Arkansas Sweet 16 game. We'll see if we get there. But that being said, Nick Boyd and John Blackwell have been just outrageous. And then Austin Rapp became a one-man wrecking machine over the weekend of the Big Ten tournament. Bottom half of the bracket. So DeBonsa and BYU is a 6. And if Texas wins, that means DeBonsa would have to play his favorite player is alma mater. His favorite player is Durant. NC State, Texas is a Sean Miller, Will Wade FBI special. Did you pick up on that connection? That is true. That Texas is
the game's going to get rated.
I know. It's a
the game's going to get rated.
Strong ass game. I knew Texas was bound for the first 4. Surprised by NC State there, but I don't know. I don't know if the winner of that game is going to be able to get past BYU. Again, we'll make more of these picks later. Gonzaga, broadly speaking, what's the deal with Braden Huff? Is he playing? Is he healthy? Is he done? Like, a lot of fogginess around the Braden Huff thing. We talked about Missouri and Miami and then Purdue. Just real quick on Purdue, actually. What the hell do we make of this team? What is going on? They look their T-ball score was plummeting. They've been asked lately, if you're new to the pod, by the way, that's the T-ball metric, all right? Unofficially recognized in the committee room, although not on the team sheets. T-ball, get to know it and learn it and love it. Had lost 5 of their final, what'd they do here? Purdue going in, they lost 4 of their final 6. Then they beat Northwestern by 13. They beat Nebraska 74-58. They handle UCLA, which lost Donovan Dent in the middle of that game. Tyler Bilodeau had his injury issues. And then, like, I had eyes on the game, but that Big Ten title game every year as a function of getting ready for this, for the bracket, for the selection show, for 4.5 hours on HQ, I can half pay attention to what's going on. And at one point in the second half, I just look up and I'm like, what the hell's happening? Like, this is Purdue now out of nowhere. Like, maybe Michigan just had no motivation whatsoever and knew it was not getting the number 1 overall. It knew it had the 1 seed. It already won the Big Ten regular season, multiple games out before it ended. Braden Smith ripped it off his own jersey. He wears number 41. Purdue coming slow, but speeding. I don't know what's going on, but that's a hell of a plot twist. And as a result and function of that win on Sunday, that is why we see Purdue on the 2 line and Michigan State on the 3 line. Just some quickie thoughts on the Boilermakers, because they got everyone twisted in a phone booth right now. We might have just been rope-a-doped over the past month.
I think most of what you said there is an explanation for what happened. That's a proud program. They've been beaten up a little bit. I think they woke up on Sunday like, this is the biggest thing for us. Let's go get this today. Real motivation. And all Michigan's heard for a week is, you're locked up. You're good to go. You're 1 seed. And I do think that enters your head at some point. It doesn't mean that one team's there to win and the other team doesn't care. It just means that it is totally natural to, back against the wall stuff. And like, I'm motivated in ways that's all real stuff, and human nature can play a role. And I think Purdue just came out, jumped and got that lead, and then was able to hang on. And it doesn't make me think any differently about Michigan at all. It just makes me think that Matt Painter and that program are great. And I'm never surprised when they win anything, even when they've been struggling. And that today felt like a program win more than anything else. As for where they go next, we'll see. But, I don't know that I'm ready to flip all the way back to Purdue's going to go win a national championship based off of 40 minutes on a Sunday afternoon, or even, a run through the Big Ten tournament. But clearly they are performing better over the past week than they had been performing over the previous couple of weeks. And if what every coach says is true, which is that you want to be playing your best basketball heading into this bracket, well, then Purdue, at least in theory, is one of the teams that is.
Just a reminder, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the data has proven this over the decades. High major teams that win their conference tournament are not more likely to make the Final Four than teams that don't, generally speaking. So Purdue got hot. It's not necessarily an indicator that that's what's going to happen in that region. Let's go to the Midwest, and I throw it right back to you. You think Michigan is the path you'd choose the most? Why is that?
First off, I just think they're great. Like they might. Duke is missing multiple key players. We expect one of them to be back. We don't know about the other. Arizona's awesome and reliable, but I mean, I'll just spoil it for you. I've got 2 1 seeds making the Final Four, and they are the 2 1s from the right side of the bracket. I've got Arizona and Michigan all the way to Indianapolis, in part because I think they're excellent, obviously, but also because I don't want to say I don't see a team in there that can beat them, but I don't see a team in there that I would pick to beat Arizona. And in the Midwest, Iowa State's awesome, has been all season. I could certainly see Iowa State getting to a Final Four, but on the right side of the bracket, I'm going to take Arizona and Michigan as the 1 seeds to advance. Their paths are more, at least in my head, more manageable than the pass for Florida and the pass for Duke, because in theory, Duke has to do this thing without Caleb Foster, and Florida has to perhaps, not to circle back, but win a game against Houston in Houston.
Okay. Midwest Overlook. If Michigan plays Georgia in the second round, that will be Dusty May going against his really good friend and I guess quasi-mentor. He was an assistant for Mike White for a very long time. They worked together at Louisiana Tech, worked together at Florida, so they could meet in the second round. Otherwise, we could get Michigan SLU. Now, SLU's been bumpy. They didn't win the A10 tournament championship, and they have lost now 4 of their past 8 after getting off to a 24-1 start. I actually was mildly encouraged to see the committee put SLU on the 9 line. I thought they might be headed for the 10, but I thought 9 was just about right for them. Texas Tech is the 5 here, getting Akron, and that's going to be out in Tampa. The Michigan stuff's going to be in Buffalo, by the way. And actually, real quick, before I lose this thought in my head, we'll wait and see what Monday brings and what Tuesday brings with teams getting to sites. So, like Michigan and Michigan State, they're going to Buffalo. They're going to take buses because they're within 400 miles. The teams can pay for their own planes if they want, but the whole issue is that there's a shortage of planes and charter planes across the country because of the federal government and ICE and all of what's attached to it. Well, that in addition to the TSA reduction in workforce and the partial government shutdown. I don't know if we ever talked about this on the pod, but I wrote a story about it. I don't know if this will cause an issue or not, but the NCAA sent out a memo close to a month ago that said, hey, listen, we're going to need even more patience than normal this year because, and this is me throwing out hypothetical times, if you think you're leaving for your site Tuesday at 10 a.m. on that plane might not actually take off till 3 or 5 o'clock. So we want your patience. Hopefully this doesn't become a story period, but there is a real shortage of charter planes. And I almost wonder, ever so often, professional franchises that have the planes to use, I almost wonder if a couple teams that might have connections might need to use that. But as a result of this, like Michigan and Michigan State probably going to be taking the bus because they're within the radius there. And the NCAA obviously, of course, pays for the charter buses. Just something to keep an eye on. I have not looked at every team and where they're going and who's got to fly and who's got to drive, but I am curious on that overall. Keep going down on the bracket, GP.
Well,
Tech is shorthanded.
On that, I will say,
go ahead.
I hope nobody's trying to fly out of New York City tomorrow. Because that ain't going to be easy.
Because you're also pinned, aren't you?
I'm sorry?
You're pinned right now. Like you can't get out?
No, I'm stuck here. I've been on 4 different flights in the past 5 hours. Like through the entire bracket breakdown show, every segment I wasn't on, I was trying to figure out how to get back home tomorrow. And I don't think I am. Like, yeah, I'm stuck here. I'm stuck again. I can't get out.
You got booted. You got booted. Man. You thought you were going. You thought, okay, I'll settle for the first 4 at worst. No, you're out.
I was going home for one day.
You're the Oklahoma.
I was going home for one day, and then they Porter Mosered me.
They Porter Mosered. Hate to get Mosered. As coincidentally enough, I'm going to be in studio for HQ for the first weekend of the tournament. I typically don't go to a first weekend site. I would have probably gone to Philly and drove anyway, but dodging a flight right now is probably the way to go, at least in the short term. Okay, Tech, Akron, Bama, Hofstra are going to Tampa. That seems like a ton of fun to me. Like Akron and Hofstra, I think they're viable candidates to maybe make some noise. Keep an eye there. I want to see how Tech responds without Toppin, just generally speaking, not just in that game, but just can they make noise? Can they get to the Sweet 16? Can they threaten in that game to get to Elite 8? I don't know. Bottom half here is where we've got the Miami SMU game on Wednesday. And the winner of that will play Tennessee on the 6 line. Virginia, Wright State, Kentucky, Santa Clara, Iowa State, Tennessee is the bottom half of the Midwest region. And that you've got Philly, you've got St. Louis there. I don't know. Kind of feels like we're going to have a little bit of fun noise here. And if you got any more on this region, I'm happy to hear it. I will say, I do think, and I am going to try and wishcast this a little bit, admittedly, last year was historic in its chalkiness in the tournament. Arkansas was the only double-digit seed to make it. It's from the SEC. Didn't have any mid-major representation into the second weekend. That was a first. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think we're going to have a total rash of mid-majors making a plunge, but I feel like we've gotten a little too comfortable with the idea that this thing is top-heavy and we're going to have teams moving along, and that's when the tournament's the best, when it has the capacity to remind us just how little we know, and it can shock and awe us. I can't tell you where they are. They're hiding in plain sight right now in this thing. The upsets, they are out there. They are going to happen. They are going to materialize. But the fun of this whole thing is we don't know when, we don't know why, and we don't know how. But I can't shake the feeling, Parrish, that we are going to have, give me at least Give me at least a couple of 12s or, a 13 or 14 mixed in there. I want to believe it's going to happen. And it's just a matter of if it does. But I think we've got a healthy chance.
1 point here, and then we'll move on. You mentioned Texas as the 6th seed in the Midwest. I mean, Tennessee as the 6th seed in the Midwest. One of the points we dove into on the bracket breakdown show was, different upsets in the 12-5 range, 11-6 range. Those are usually pretty obvious places to take a shot. And if you look at the 6 seeds, Tennessee in the Midwest,
Yep.
But then listen to the other 3 and then try to tell me what they have in common. North Carolina,
Yep.
It is Louisville,
I got
and
you. I'm already there.
BYU.
Already there.
Like they're all missing key players.
They're all missing key players. Yep.
And we'll see what happens with Michael Brown, but we know that Caleb Wilson is not playing at North Carolina, and we know that Richie Saunders is not playing at BYU. So if you are looking for 11-6 upsets, just know that 3 of the 11 seeds are playing 6 seeds that at least 2 of them are playing 6 seeds that are missing very important players. And another one is playing a Louisville team that, hasn't had Michael Brown consistently and didn't have him in the ACC tournament. Hey, let's take another break. And then when we come back, we're going to do the whip around. You know the whip around. We're going to do the whip around. We're going to do it a little differently. I'll explain in a second. First, watch me do this. March is here, and if you've ever followed the tournament, you know one thing. The only predictable thing is the chaos. Upsets, buzzer beaters, Cinderella runs. It's the best kind of unpredictable, and that's exactly why DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook for live betting, is built for March. The tournament is unexpected. Rewards are guaranteed, and DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering some of the most generous rewards in the market. What I like about DraftKings, it is the live betting. With DraftKings, the #1 sportsbook for live betting, you're not betting on what might happen later. You're betting on what's happening right now while the game unfolds. Momentum shifts, big plays, last-second drama. You can get in on the action as it happens. And if you're new to DraftKings, it's the perfect time to jump in. Just bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code I. That's code I, E-Y-E, to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets instantly. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager text pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states, void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer.
I love how you go like robot mode there near the end. If anyone's listening in the little YouTube live one,
I hope we're getting so rich. I hope I get an email that says, GP, you are not going to believe how much money this podcast is making by you talking at 3 times speed. I hope we're so rich.
Okay. How the hell are we going to whip? We got to break down the Big Ten semis right now. How are we whipping around?
Okay. I had to get creative. All right.
Yep.
It's the whip around. We get paid for this. Transparency.
The chat is calling it AIGP. That's amazing. Anyway, go ahead.
It's a spot. This is what they call a sponsored element, and it's called the whip around. And we usually spend it on Sunday night, like we say in the ACC, and then we say, and then we go, all right, let's get to the Big Ten, and then I'll take about 6 minutes and tell a story and got nothing to do with nothing, and then I'll say, all right, let's go, and then we'll check in on Miami, Ohio, and then I'll tell another story and got nothing to do with nothing, and then some dude will tweet me and be like, GP, listen to the show, man. I used to remember when you would actually analyze games. And I'm like, no, you don't remember that. I don't analyze games. What are you talking about? I tell stories. All right. But typically we look back at stuff. But on the night of the bracket getting announced, I don't want to be looking backwards. I want to be looking forward. So what we're going to do? We're going to whip around to each region. And I want you, Matt Norlander, to tell me what game in the first round you are looking most forward to in each region. Whip yourself around that bracket and pick me one game in each region.
By the way, that sound. First of all, after Parrish, the heresy on the last show, he's like, I never print brackets. Your boy here has like 50 of them. Let's go.
Well, that's why Kawhi Leonard had to take that no-show job to plant all them trees because you're printing out all them brackets.
Happy to do it. I got so much paper. Not the right kind. All right. Game I'm looking forward to most in each region. Let's go with the most obvious one. Will Miami versus SMU be the most watched first 4 game on record? Question. Genuine question. I think it will. What do you think?
Probably, but like if you really wanted to do it.
Not a big brand whatsoever. There's like no appeal to SMU at all, but you've got the Miami. Go ahead.
This should not have happened because it would have been wrong. But, oh, buddy, it would have been fun. If we had Auburn, Miami, Ohio, that would have been the best. Like the absolute best.
It would not have been. It would not have been. If Auburn and Miami were both in the first 4 and Auburn made the tournament, I would have been furious. I would still be ranting if that had happened. There was no reason for Auburn.
Okay, but then eventually we would get to that night, and that would be
correct. Fun. And then it would be like watch like the Final 4.
Yeah, you'd have Bruce and Wally in the crowd, perhaps. I mean, it'd be good.
I can't deny that. I can't deny that.
I wouldn't have wanted it because it would have been right. But, oh, buddy, it would have been good. But to your point, yeah, probably because Miami, Ohio is such a big story. That is I am not somebody who believes every first 4 is great. Sometimes they're just games between 2 mediocre teams. But, yes, I am looking forward to watching Miami, the Red Hawks, play a power conference team. And they are underdogs. And
you saw the line? I just saw the line. I didn't know it till just now. You've seen it?
I think it's around 5 or 6, something like that.
No, it's 7.5 right now.
Oh, wow.
7.5. Yeah. Boy, oh boy. SMU's getting BJ Edwards back, so that'll be a factor. I'm making that my game in the Midwest. That's a Wednesday, approximately 9:15 Eastern tip, by the way, on True TV. Barkley and Vital on the mic. I want to say for the entire first 4. I don't think it's just one night. That's gonna be tremendous. So I'll give you that in the Midwest. In the West, do you want to pick one as well, or am I going first and then you're going? How are we doing this?
Well, in the Midwest. So you went in the Midwest. I'll go in the Midwest, and I'll just go Kentucky, Santa Clara. Here's a Kentucky program that's been one of the biggest brands in the sport. Been a big topic of conversation this season, in part because of the amount of money they spent on the roster. Now they're in a game against a traditional mid-major. Incredible coach in Herb Sendek, once took NC State to 5 straight NCAA tournaments, and they won 26 games this season. I know it sounds Kentucky against Santa Clara. I think Kentucky's just a 2-point favorite in this game. I can't wait to watch this one, if only because this will be the face of a lot of stuff. You know how, like, if you're a Kentucky fan, it's go Big Blue. If you're not a Kentucky fan, you like to watch the little school from the West Coast Conference beat up on the $20+ million roster. So that's a fun game to put your eyes on in the Midwest region.
I said on HQ earlier tonight, my biggest toss-up of any first-round matchup is Kentucky, Santa Clara. Don't know what to do there. I picked Santa Clara right now. I reserve the right to change my pick before we get to Thursday. Let's go. You know what? Let's go pong this. Instead of we start at Midwest. Let's just go to the East. Let's go diagonal. Let's do it. I will go. That might not be what you wanted to do, but whatever. It's after midnight, and we've been working for I don't even know how long.
It's a tough scroll for Josh on that bracket.
Oh yeah, it's just Josh is scrolling. That's funny. I didn't even think about that. Am I remembering the right game? Pong? Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking of.
I played Pong. Okay. I know Pong.
Yeah, it was a little before my time.
Okay, you set me up to say I played Pong, so you could call me old. I got it.
You did it to yourself. Tell you what, Johnny's Northern Iowa will be interesting. Northern Iowa allows the fewest points in the country, loves to grind it down. I got to go Louisville, South Florida for a couple reasons. One, and I haven't gotten to see this yet, but our producers told me in my ear earlier tonight, South Florida is going to go play this game against Louisville in Buffalo. And Brian Hodgson is from Buffalo. His father has dementia and has never seen him coach, I guess as a head coach, or I don't have all the details right now. He's going to the game. This is like really like heartwarming stuff, like genuinely. That of all the sites that South Florida could have been sent to, it's going to the head coach's the area that he's from. And that's also just a really compelling matchup. South Florida is a top 50 team at KenPom. It's lost once in the past 2 months. It's a little more defensive oriented than offensive oriented, but it's really good on the offensive glass as well. I don't know. I understand that this team has been off the radar because they're in a single bid league. The American doesn't have good TV coverage, generally speaking. It's just not the league that we want it to be, and because of that, South Florida gets a little short shrift. It's 1-11 in a row. Hodgson's a good coach. They've got some good physicality to them. They challenge themselves in the non-conference. They haven't beaten a team as good as Louisville this season. I understand that, but I'll spoil this pick on this show. Like, I've got South Florida winning that game because I don't know what we're going to get from Michael Brown Jr. That is my game to watch in that region.
All right. I actually had Ohio State TCU, I think. Are we in the East right now?
We're in the East.
Yeah, I had Ohio State
That's
TCU
right.
written down, but I love that story. So I'm going to go USF. Yeah. I'll go USF Louisville. That's a sweet story. Like dementia, Alzheimer's. If you've ever dealt with that in your family, I have. It's just a nightmare, man. Just an absolute nightmare. You go and see people you've known your whole lives, and they don't know you anymore. Like both of my grandmothers died that way, just not really knowing who I am anymore. And so that's a hard one, man. That's a hard one. So, I wasn't aware of that with Brian's father, but that'll be a sweet scene in Buffalo. Let's go to the.
Where are we going?
You tell me. What's the hardest place for Josh to get to?
Let's go to the West.
Is that the hardest place?
Right
past? Yeah, look at that.
There we go. Going to the West. That's right. He's getting there. Okay. I'm gonna say I think there's some fun potential over the idea if Texas beat NC State and then DeBonsa dropped 30 plus on KD's alma mater. Like, there could be something there, but we're not guaranteed to get the game, so I'm not going to pick that. I will go Wisconsin High Point. And Bucky fans, tell me how you're feeling right now, because you've got a team that is hitting its stride, came really close to knocking off Michigan in the semis, has been on a roll, won 5 of its past 6 leading up to that, including just a really impressive win Friday night against Illinois in the Big Ten tournament. I mean, as always happens every single year, just these 4 or 5 days that lead up to Selection Sunday, I'm living and dying with every hour, and I love it so much. And the Big 12 tournament was a joy to get to cover, and I'll never forget the night when they changed the damn floor and everything that went leading into that. I'm bringing this up to say, and then we get to the bracket, and it's all of that stuff just practically deteriorates behind us almost instantly. It's the swing into the NCAA tournament mode. It is so violently beautiful every single year. And as I think back on what Wisconsin has been doing, I wonder, can they keep this up? Because Boyd and Blackwell to this point are pacing to be, if not there, top 3 backcourt in the country. And now they got to play High Point. And 2 years ago, I saw a Wisconsin team that had a 5 next to its name, and it was playing a 12 seed that was from a mid-major conference that wore purple, that had 30 wins. And that team was James Madison, and they beat Wisconsin. Now, I do think that this Wisconsin team is better than that Wisconsin team, but nonetheless, I think this one's got a real chance at some upset potential. High Point is a good squad. They've got players that have been in this spot before. And so in a region where I think you've got a number of different options, to me, the 12-5 upset potential there is worth noting. And with Miami no longer being undefeated, if you didn't know, now you know, the Panthers of High Point have the longest win streak of any team in the tournament. They have won 14 in a row.
I'll go Utah State Villanova in the West in a first-round matchup. Looking forward to. I've got the Aggies after they won the Mountain West Conference tournament. I've got them 26th in the top 25 and 1, and yet they get a 9 seed in the bracket. I'm not even arguing against the 9 seed. It actually lines up with their strength of record and their wins above bubble. But I believe, let me double check this, Utah State is 26th in the net. So that's a team that obviously had some ups and downs, but it won a lot of games, and I'll pick them to get past Villanova in the first round.
Okay, good deal. That was the weekend Whiparound, wasn't it?
No, we got one more, I think, don't we?
Oh, do we? Oh, yeah, we forgot the South.
Did we pick every
Oh,
region? I'm lost now.
No, I do. I'm just.
No, we didn't do the
No,
South. We didn't do the
we didn't do
South.
You go first.
Whip around to
first.
the South.
Yep, you go first.
Okay, I put Nebraska Troy just because history could be made there. Even Fred, we had Fred Hoiberg on our bracket breakdown show tonight, and he said, listen, we all know the elephant in the room with our program, that we've never won a game in the NCAA tournament, I don't think he said this, but I'll say it for him. They're the only power conference school that's never won a game in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, with the season they had, they are now seeded in a way that they're expected to do it. But, oh, buddy, you can't lose to Troy and stay winless in the NCAA tournament off time after the season you just had. I think Fred and his sons won a player, won a manager, get Nebraska's first NCAA tournament win in school history. And so that's a fun first round matchup to watch in the South.
I'm going to take Carolina's lost 2 in a row at Duke, close to Clemson. That was all the way back on Thursday. Oh, my God. I can't believe that was on Thursday. VCU, Rams. They've lost once in more than 2 months. I was at the game they lost, and then the final margin was 13 at SLU back on February 20th. I mean, SLU did a great job coming back. VCU looked like it was winning that game for the first 65% of it. How does UNC respond? This game is in Greenville, by the way, so a 6-seed Carolina gets a Greenville site, which might mean 3rd-seeded Illinois has to play Carolina. It's not that close, but still, it's North Carolina, South Carolina location here. But VCU Carolina is my pick there. I had to pick a full bracket for HQ. I have VCU winning that game. I may change my mind, but in the here and the now, I've got VCU winning. They play really well together. They really, really do. Like if you watch them at all during that A-10 tournament, they got genuine pushes, but they've got real composure to themselves. And so I could have easily given you the oil and water of Mary's A&M. I could have given you Nebraska Troy like GP. Vandy McNeese is ripe for the picking. And even Clemson, Iowa just feels like a toss-up to me. But the one I think that I have most intrigue on, that's a TNT matchup, 650 on – that's Greenville, and that is Thursday. So that'll be a Thursday tip there.
All right. So we're about an hour 12 into this thing. I actually looked last season on Selection Sunday. We went 115. So we're right in here.
We can wrap.
And I think we're planning to talk again on Monday.
We are.
And on Tuesday.
Think so. I think so. There's just so much. I'm just getting through this. And then I'm at the HQ I'm at HQ right now, as every Selection Sunday. We may be breaking a record. We're not even at 12:30 Eastern. I don't know the last time we finished a Selection Sunday show this relatively quote unquote early. So with that being said, there's so much more to get to. We'll break down the matchups. We'll dive into it as much as we need to. I don't have to interview Pearl Jam's bass player this year. Although if Jeff Ament or Eddie Vedder want to come on the pod, the invitation is always open. But I think that's fair. By the way, look what they had downstairs. Look at this. I haven't had a Twinkie. I haven't had a Twinkie, I think, at least 10 years. Oh, I'm housing this thing, but I'm not doing it on camera because I got too much respect for myself to do that. But I'm going to town on this Twinkie before I drive home. And as far as I'm concerned, we got a field of 68. We've got a tournament. We've got a bracket. We've got the printouts. Some quick housekeeping from me on my end. CBSSports.com and the CBS Sports app. I mean it to everyone watching and listening. I am so immensely proud of the product that we put out covering the sport in this tournament. There is no shortage of information, analysis, the whole deal. If you can't get enough of this tournament outside of just this podcast and watching stuff on TV, please, please, please go to our site. Our writers are doing a great job, from Cobb to Salerno to Trotter, all on down the line. We've got some great guys helping pitching in with stuff. Please go check it out. We've got so much. And GP and I will have more as the week goes along. And I just really appreciate all the efforts that go into it. I know you did a great job. I can't watch you. You can't watch me. But really love the stuff that we did on HQ. Some of that stuff now lives on the YouTube page, CBS Sports CBB and CBS Sports in general. So please go find that. And to everyone that dialed in with us, I know we go later. It's the nature of the beast. I wish we could go on and podcast at, say, 8 p.m. on a Selection Sunday. but they need our faces on TV to talk about this stuff. So everyone that looks forward to this show every year to watch it live, we love doing it as well. And we've got so much more coming for you every single day of the week. And we will have a recap show, first four excluded, after every tournament round, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and for the remainder of the tournament.
I obviously echo all of that. Appreciate you guys being here with us late on a Sunday. We'll be back on Monday. We'll be back on Tuesday. Time to be determined based on our schedules, because honestly, my schedule as of this moment is nothing like it was supposed to be 5 hours ago. I'm still trying to figure it out. Let's call it a show. Shouts to Devin Downey, Chester, South Carolina, Terry Teagle. He's a legend. Huck Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching, listening to Eye on College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify. More of us than there are of them should be reflected in the comments. So please do that. We'll talk to you again soon. Till then, take care.